It is recording. It is recording successfully. That's good.
Excellent. Yeah, it's they keep updating what they do with Zoom, so it gives you slightly different wording now. So
Okay.
yeah. So just for people who make sure everybody's aware, we are recording now.
As long as we don't have to sing, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, you can lead us.
Kind of amazing just watching the screen fill up with faces.
Yeah, it's just after the half hour there, and we're getting quite a few people joining, so we'll just give it a moment or two.
In my place, the sky is clear. You can see the moon perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering what all that stuff in the sky was today. You know, it was the sun. But it looks like the sunspot's been pretty quiet, though. Again, there seem to be some, and then not very many now.
Say, Chris, about halfway through your book online. That's really great. Thanks.
Oh, good. Glad you're enjoying it. It was a lot of fun to do.
I can echo that, Chris. I'm about halfway through also and really enjoying it very much. It's well done.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting at it. Can't wait.
I'm popping through it.
Recommendation. It's really fun to read, Chris.
Good.
I think Chris, I owe you a beer still for the Pluto night at Pluto's. So now I'll owe you two.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure when the hardback versions are going to be out, but anyway, I'm trying to arrange something so that they're available, and you know, perhaps we could have some sort of event, here in Victoria when they come out, so we can celebrate a little bit, and you know, people can get their copies. So
Perhaps you should have it at Pluto's, and then we can get the best milkshakes in Victoria right there.
that's right. Well, I've actually always been proud of that one, pulling off that little party, you know, because I used to live in that part of town, and I would drive by that restaurant all the time, and I just thought, one day New Horizons or something is going to go by Pluto, and I think we should properly celebrate it. So and of course, that morning I got out of bed. The first thing I did is run downstairs and see what the picture was from Pluto, because I knew it was going to be released in the morning. And then as soon as I got the picture, I arranged to get a nice print to put up in the restaurant that night, because I didn't think the restaurant should go one day longer than it needed to without a picture of Pluto.
That's nice.
And it's still there too.
Yes, I believe it is. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've been there, but the last time I was there, the picture was there, because I put it in a frame too, so they could just put it right up.
There was a Pluto picture on Astronomy Picture of the Day a few days ago, which was very spectacular. It's strange to see mountains made out of water ice.
It was very impressive. I agree. I saved a copy for myself of that one.
Well, welcome everyone to another Astro Cafe. And I think we've got some new faces here tonight, so that's great to see. Some of our new members are joining us. So on the agenda this evening, I was going to start off with a few announcements, and then Lauri wanted to share something with us. David has been working with a group to look at some special interest groups. Then we'll have Randy has put together some conjunction photos, I believe. And then John has been doing some experiments from his locale in a fairly light polluted area and has been getting some photos. And then I don't know if Reg, if you have some concluding comments tonight, maybe.
I've got some exciting news.
Okay, so very good. So just start off then. So just a reminder that we do have our annual general meeting coming up next month, and we still have a few council vacancies. We also have some annual awards to give out, so information has been circulated about that. Lauri and I have some calendars for sale. I have sold a few more this week, but there are still some available. They're the 2021 RASC calendar, $15 each. So either contact Lauri or me. And I think that was it for my part there. So Lauri, did you want to lead off with the upcoming Star Party?
Sure. I can see if I can share share the screen?
You should be able to, yes.
Okay. I'll see what I can do here.
And it has started.
Okay. So hi everybody. Let me see, fifth Saturday night Star Party is going to be on this coming Saturday starting at 7 o'clock. We are happy to have Thomas Lowe from Penn Stars on Haliakia, and he's a UVic grad who is now working in Hawaii, and we're very happy to have him. Reg, did we have Thomas Lowe a little while ago?
No, we did not.
No. Okay. So then, everybody would like to join in with us, then we can come. I'm just going to show you the Zoom link. This is from our centeroftheuniverse.org website, and so when you go there, the Zoom link will be right there, and we're not sure the passwords are a little different now than what they were. So if you do get prompted for a password, it's May 06, 1918. And does anybody know what that is?
First light at the observatory.
Absolutely. So something that maybe people can remember. So May 06, 1918 will be.
No. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know one way or the other.
Yeah. So hopefully everybody will be able to join us at 7 o'clock, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauri. And we'll get that. Is that on our website, Reg? Or
yes, that link information is on our website.
So okay, if you didn't get it, you can get it from there.
Thank you very much. Good.
Great. Okay, and so next we've been, as we have this Zoom license that sits not doing very much most of the time, we've proposed putting it to a bit more work. And so there's been a proposal to form some special interest groups of members who would like to get together and discuss some topics. And David's helping to make this happen. So I'd like to turn over to David.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So on the website, I don't know, Chris, if you can maybe bring it up on the share.
Is that it there?
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so we've been talking about this since late last year about setting up some special interest groups. So we finally got it off the ground in the last week or so. So there's a number of them. There's a Getting Started in Astronomy group, an astrophotography group, a electronically assisted astronomy group, and a makers group. So I just wanted to let people know that it will not replace Cafe. It's really meant to allow us to do kind of specialized sharing. Often we wouldn't have enough time to spend on these topics. So we're going to try to have separate sessions. We're not exactly sure about the frequency, but we're thinking like maybe once a month. And maybe I'll get each of the leads. Every group actually has a lead. And I'd like to maybe have the leads describe what they plan to do with the group and then also field any questions. So Margie, maybe I'll get you to start with getting started in astronomy. Margie, are you there? Maybe she's away.
No, I am.
Oh, there you are.
I had my mic off.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. All right. So I'm just putting it closer to my face so I can actually look at it. Getting started in astronomy is a beginners group, and we will look at things such as observation tools, how to choose them, what you need to know to get outdoors, sky guides and charts, terminology, lots of different informational resources, indoor astronomy, how to record your observations, and the fascinating field of astrophotography. When there are some people who are interested, we will get together by Zoom and we'll decide on session topics together. We'll decide on meeting times together and how long we want to meet. Although my plan is sequential, it doesn't mean that we have to start at the beginning, because there are some people who will know various things already and will want to start at another place. So once we have interested people, I will send out a list of potential topics and we will go from there.
Great, thanks, Margie. And of course, John's no stranger to any of us here. John, you can tell us a little bit about what you plan to do with astrophotography.
Thanks, David. Yeah, the astrophotography special interest group is going to be aimed primarily for people that are either getting started. So we would welcome people who have no experience with it. That'll be just fine. We'd also like to have people join the group who have experience, because what I'm thinking of is, assuming that people like this idea, when we meet, we're going to talk over what they would prefer. But I think the idea will probably be have like question and answer things. People can bring up things that they'd like to know more about. And then those of us that have a bit of experience can try to help them. A lot of what Margie says goes for this one too. You'll need to connect with me, and the connections are shown right where the names are for each of the leaders. You just have to click on it and send an email, and then we'll get together and take it from there. Thanks.
That's excellent. Thanks, John. And the third group is one that I'm leading, electronically assisted astronomy. Now, it's been getting a little bit more airplay these last couple of years. There's been lots of changes to technology in terms of sensors and actually software. So that's what we're going to be really focusing on, just to bring everybody up to date with what's possible. EAA is not really a replacement for traditional viewing or astrophotography. It's an activity that's somewhere in between. I find that I like the concept of it because it lets me do astrophotography without really getting into great depth with it. And it enhances what I can do on my own here in suburbia. So one of the nice things about EAA is that you can sort of put together a rig that will just help your regular observing, you know, whether you are a traditional eyepiece observer or if you do imaging. So somewhere in between. So we'll talk a lot about what the technology is, and then talk about hypothetical rigs that you might build. And I'll certainly share the one that I built for myself in the last couple of months. So again, I think we'll probably meet once a month. You can contact me through the SIG page. My name is there, and we'll carry on from there. Now, the last one I have here is the Astro related makers group. This is something that I was originally going to initiate myself, but Jim Cliff, who I know is quite experienced in things mechanical, which I am only learning about right now, he's offered to lead this group. So I'm very pleased to see that. Jim, do you want to give us an idea of what you might like to do? Jim, are you there?
Yeah, you're not muted, but I can't hear you. Is your microphone working?
Jim just replaced his computer, so he may have some problems.
And maybe I could just, as an aside, I was just checking to see what's here. This email address does not exist at the moment, so just be aware that you can't contact.
You still have to create it, I think.
Yeah,
first.
that one does not exist yet.
Yeah. Okay, well, Jim is maybe sorting that out. I'll just give a quick overview of what I thought it would be. There's many of us that actually build things either out of interest or either because we don't want to pay the kind of money that commercial products cost. So I think it would be great. Like I certainly have started building my own things. There's a lot of kind of tools out there that are possible to acquire today that allow you to build these things quite conveniently. I'm assuming that this one will be more like a round table where we maybe sort of share what we're doing in our projects and then either give help or provide help. So I'm pleased to see all of these special interest groups about to take off. So if you have any questions, just let me know. If you want to build a new group, let me know that as well. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, well, thank you, David. Let's turn that off. Yeah, so that's, I think that's really exciting news to get this started and see how this works. Something new for us. Certainly, there's been a lot of effort from RASC National to do more online sessions and learning, but this is an opportunity to kind of, I guess, take what we kind of do at Astro Cafe and focus it a little bit more, which I think is a good idea, so that people who are like-minded and want to share and ask questions, that would be the time to do it. So thank you very much, David, for getting this coordinated and getting it started, and we'll see how it goes. Are there any comments about that, or shall we go on to our illustrious Vice President, Randy?
I have a question.
Please.
Yeah. Can we invite non-members to the group? I'm thinking in particular the beginners one. I have a few friends that might be interested in learning more about the stars.
I'll try to answer that, and Margie jump in as well. I think it was always thought that we might open up the beginners group. I think we were going to just start slow with the other groups though, but I can see that the beginners group might be kind of open to that. The main reason why we would not do it in a public way is because of security reasons. So we would at least want to know, I mean, either you can probably give the link to somebody if you know them, obviously, but we probably would not post it on the website.
Yes, or the I guess members of the public can, through the website, contact Marjorie. And,
or they can can contact one of the leads.
That's what I proposed. You know, just bring it to other people's attention if they're interested.
Oh, certainly. I don't. How do you feel about that, Margie? I don't know, Margie's there.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we discussed the idea of maybe starting slowly, since this is the first time we've done it. Starting slowly with I'm distracted. Sorry. Starting slowly with people who are members of the group, and that would be a beginning. I guess what we could do is see how many interested people we have, and decide from there.
Yeah, it sounds good. So I guess you'll be pushing out a notice. It will be through maybe one of Reg's emails or Sky News.
It's going to be published in Sky News, and also it's on the website. What we were looking at this evening is from the website.
You can also find all the links. I've just put quite a few links to what we've discussed so far, what we've covered so far in the chat. So there's links there you can copy and paste as you wish, or just click.
Okay, thank you.
It's Bill here. I'm curious, what are we worried about security-wise? Is it just trolls showing up and being annoying?
Yeah, and the Zoom platform as well. It's probably less troublesome now because you have to let people into the room by default now. So it's probably less risky, but it's always good to know who's there, right?
Yeah. So, because a week or so ago, I was in an online meeting and Roland Deshane from the Calgary Center. And something he started up with Calgary, and he actually started it up for Halifax too, is they use Meetup also. Now, I'm not totally familiar with it, but when I looked at their Meetup site, they have 3,000 members to the Calgary Astronomy Meetup group. And then they post links to it. So you have to join Meetup to sort of get into it, right? And so they actually post their meetings to Meetup. And I looked at that. They have 600 people registered to watch their next meeting in next weekend or next week. That's a huge public. And then when I was sort of playing through it, going through who the participants are, they're all over North America. People tuning in from the States and all that. And it's sort of the way that, I don't know if people listen to CBC much, but Halifax has picked up people that same way too, and have members in, the States and that, because they got into astronomy through, solo activities with COVID. And then now they stumbled upon the Halifax Center due to John Reed's small telescope books and have joined the Halifax Center. They've gained members that way. So
yeah, I noticed that Nationals webinars are that way, but I think we do have to be careful in the sense the larger the group gets, the less conducive it is to actual discussion.
But it was just a way of sort of, because it's like a public outreach thing, right? Which is part of our mandate.
Now, Bill, we did.
Why it was.
Yeah, Bill, we did discuss maybe other ways of doing outreach as well, which may be more conducive. I think we've thought of this as more of like inReach, like for our group internally. But certainly we're not dispensing outreach. We certainly want to try something that works for that.
Yeah, could just draw in more early members, right?
For sure.
People trying to buy telescopes right now can't find them, or parts and bits, because people bought them, but then they will end up in closets.
Yeah, in the past when we were able to get together, the telescope clinic was actually quite popular during the summer. People would come by with their telescopes, hoping that we would repair them.
Or show them which end to look through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, all good ideas.
I can't get it to focus, right? Yeah.
David, it's Margie.
Yes.
One of the things that we're hoping to do too is, with it getting started in astronomy group, is if people live in the area, then potentially we have Bill and Machosen, and we can certainly social distance well there. And we also have our dark sky park where we can socially distance. So that's the advantage of the aspect of inReach, where we can take people potentially outside.
Yeah, I think one of the things that were foremost in my mind about forming the SIGs was connection. It's not necessarily so much what we do in each of the sessions, but the connections we make, because I'm often surprised sometimes about what people are interested in. We used to be able to do that because we got together with them and you would have a little chat and you'd find out, well, so-and-so's interested in this, and we don't have that so much. So I'm thinking about the SIGs as being an enabler for that.
Yeah, that connection and socially distancing, I think, works because Brian and I went out to Cattle Point the other night. And he wanted to learn some things. I wanted to see a scope, and that gives us a place where we can do that sort of thing through that new users group, I guess you could call it, would be useful for people who have, in this pandemic mode, have acquired a telescope but don't know what now to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you definitely need that. I think that's probably why we all miss what we used to do so much, because the creation of those connections was so much easier then. And now we find ourselves in this position where we have to use other forms of communications and other technologies to make that happen.
Yeah, Zoom
so
seems to
I can
have
see the
worked.
loss.
Yeah, Zoom has really worked for me with the fishing club that I belong to. I've got 16 guys Zoom in on a Saturday morning to do some fly tying, and one as far away as Connecticut, guys in Edmonton, guys in Red Deer, guys up in middle of the province. And it is a way to make that cross-country almost kind of connection to people with similar interests.
Yeah, you can't really underestimate that. I think that's why I felt so strongly to get these things going.
Yeah, I think that'll be a real asset.
Anyways, if there's anybody interested in creating new groups, let me know.
Do we get a group discount if we join more than one?
Guess not.
Well, you know, Gary, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm a member of the local genealogy group, and they actually do charge per session. So there you go. We're not charging.
Yeah. Looks great. Looks great.
But for you, Gary, we'll charge you twice.
Okay, 2 times 0 is 0. I'm good with that.
And if people do have ideas about things they might want to do too with this outreach idea, certainly bring those forward, because you know, we could, especially if the weather continues to improve, maybe some people who've got the equipment could try you know, streaming something through from a telescope like we've done with John a couple of times earlier on, and hosted, I believe that's some of the Saturday night parties, if the conditions warrant. You know, the idea is to see some of the things through the telescope as well. So
Yeah, we haven't had a clear night on any of the Saturdays that we've had a star party yet. So one of these Saturday nights we're going to have a star where we'll be able to live stream from the plastic, but who knows?
But there's certainly some good ideas there anyway. So thanks for a very good discussion, and certainly feel free to share ideas, and we see what we can do going forward. Great. So so we kind of lost track of that there, Randy, but we're back to you, I think.
Awesome. Okay, so the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction last month was one of those great events that caught the public. It was in all the newspapers. When I was out on Dallas Road with David on the 22nd, everybody who walked by knew about it and were keen to see it. So it was one of those events that caught the professional astronomers, it caught the amateurs, it caught the general public. Anyway, here's a bit of a survey of what I've been seeing about it. Come on, you gonna work? Yeah, so there's me with my sextant looking at Jupiter and Venus from my porch. And this is with my lovely World War II sextant that I have been using since last March, mostly for looking at the moon, but this was another opportunity. And so here are all my observations. It was very obvious that we had that week of terrible weather. Remember, Reg on that Monday night said, 21st doesn't look good, but maybe we'll get a nice view on the 20th. But nope, there was no chance until the 22nd. 22nd was pretty nice. Even then, you had to wait for the clouds to move out of the way before you got it. And then there we are on the 27th. And I so much wanted to get some more points afterwards. There was not a single shot, and it's lost now. I really tried on Friday. Beautiful, beautiful night. I even saw Mercury, which I don't get to see very often. But Jupiter and Saturn had set by what, 5:30, and it was still pretty light. There's just not a chance. So it's finished for now. We'll see them on the other side of the sun. But this is a very nice time series. And I don't know whether it should be fit with a hyperbola, but I guessed that it should be a hyperbola. And with 3, so this is the separation, is the vertical axis, and the day, the day in December is my horizontal axis. And with 3 variables, I could fit this curve. That's a least squares fit. What's important, one is this number here, that is the actual time, Pacific Standard Time, that that my measurements say that they were closest together. So about noon on the 21st. And this constant here, if you put 21.5092, you put 0 in there, then it's saying the separation squared is this number. So you take the square root of that, and you get the actual closest separation. So I got, you divide that by, you multiply that by 60, you get the minutes. So I got 8.8 minutes at 12:13. And when you ask stellarium, or what the millennia of astronomers have worked out to pull this off, I'm about 2 arc minutes off and about 2 hours off. I don't know what is good and what's not good. I know that this was my first time using the sextant to take a look at the difference between 2 points in the sky. And it's a bit of a learning curve. I'm interested to do more. And especially when it was small, it was quite tricky to put the 2 dots together. I'll do this again. I mean, there's lots of conjunctions. They're just not as close as this. So I think this is an experiment to do again. So now let's go into photos. Robert Reeves is a wonderful lunar photographer that I follow. And so he just took pictures from, I think this is his observatory in his backyard. But here's it on the 16th. On the 17th, the moon's moving away. These are getting closer. The brighter one is Jupiter, of course. Getting closer together on the 19th. Very close on the 20th. It's a very nice time series. And it made me think, everybody is looking at the conjunction at about the same time for their longitude. Everybody was looking at it just before, just after sunset, within half an hour of sunset, because then the planets set. And so you could use this as a way of figuring out the longitude. So let's take a look at some pictures from around the world. Well, first of all, this was on the 19th. And the other thing is you can look at where the Galilean satellites are. So on the 19th, they're all on one side of Jupiter. So Jupiter is moving faster than Saturn. So it's moving towards Saturn this way. And you know what? I didn't know the date of this one from Texas, but from the locations of the Jovian satellites, and it was pretty clear that this was the 19th. Okay, let's go to the actual conjunction. Chris Go in the Philippines is one of the most amazing planetary photographers. I hope people know about his work. especially his pictures of Mars have been fantastic. And so we see the 3 Jovian satellites on one side, and you can see that Jupiter is still before it gets to Saturn. Which way does that mean? It means it is further east. Okay, that's in the Philippines. Now we're in Pakistan, very close there. So, they're kind of, the ecliptic is kind of defined by the rings and by the satellites. And so that's pretty close to the actual conjunction. This picture must have been taken quite a bit earlier. I would think that is because the light, it's a little bit lighter. So this was earlier on. Now this one, I've seen people say it's a fake, and I think it is a fake. Just look at how Saturn is with respect to Jupiter and the stripes on Jupiter. I have no faith that this is a real picture.
It's too big.
Isn't.
Too close.
There's no mountain there.
Well, it's the
pyramid.
mountain is fair enough. That's the pyramid. But why do people fake it? Like, I can understand changing the exposures to balance things up, but to actually stick 2 separate pictures together. Here we are in Spain with moons on either side. There we have moons on either side in Spain. Very nice picture. I think this must also be fooling around with the exposures in order to get the moons to get the foreground, but wonderful picture. Now we cross the ocean and we can see that Jupiter's getting a bit past Saturn, and now we have 3 moons on the leading side of Jupiter. Here it is upside down in Guatemala, but that's fair enough. Wonderful resolution. And here's another really, really fine resolution. Again, how do you see all these moons of Saturn? I don't think I have knowingly seen any of the moons other than Titan. That's one of my challenges, is to get to know the moons of Saturn. This one isn't even from Earth. They turned the narrow angle camera around on the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. So this is from Moon. Just, 2115, it was at 18 UTC, right? Or at 20 UTC, that was it. So this was an hour after conjunction, but from the orbit of the moon. And now we move to Canada to the 22nd. I just like this picture. And now the rest of the pictures are from members of our club, but Charles took this picture from Gatineau, just across from Ottawa. So all the rest of the pictures are on the 22nd. Oh, not our own member. This is Deborah Cervolo, but wonderful picture. She takes super, super pictures. It was pretty hazy for her. She talked about in her description of this, but I think that adds to the picture in a way. Okay, so moving always to the west. Here's Alex's from Vancouver. Very nice to be able, with a single shot, to resolve the Galilean moons, but you can still see the rings. And that's a very nice one. Neil Dickey is not a member of the club, but he's a well-known Victoria photographer. I often see him out on Dallas Road when I'm also taking pictures of the moon. Kyle's in the club. That's very nice. That's Joe's picture. And you see the Jupiter's moved, a day past. This is where it was on the 21st, and now it's on the 22nd. There's Chris's picture from his house. And Bill's. I just love seeing them all over the place. But of course, Bill wins with this wonderful diagram, wonderful sketch. Just love that. Mike Webb did very good job of, you can resolve the rings. You can see the moon's just beautiful. And I put this picture exactly, I twisted around Alex's picture so that it was, you see, there's Mike Webb's, there's Alec Lee's. I had some fun with that. Brock Johnson submitted a picture. I put out the notice yesterday. Anybody wants their picture in this, send it to me. I really like this. You see the stripes beautifully on Jupiter. Wonderful photo. This is a terrible photo, but I bought a Galileo scope. I'm really pleased with it because this was the first time that I set it on Saturn. And I have to say, with my eye, the rings were absolutely clear. And so were the Galilean moons. This was just trying to capture it with my my telephone through it, and so it's not a good picture. But some night I'll give a good talk on the Galileo scope. It's a wonderful teaching scope, very good for outreach. And then David, oh wow, what can I say? Look at that with the meteor going across and the highlights. So this was about 20 feet away from where I took my picture. You know, compare that and that. Same place, same time. And here's from John's roof. Excellent picture. And I think this is it, but I love seeing the reflection in the lake, Hill Lake. So that's a great picture, Gerald. Here's a couple of people who did time series. So like I did with my sextant. So December 3rd, 10, 18, 21. Isn't that fantastic? Where did this one come from? I don't remember. Anyway, I just found it on the Facebook. Here's from Singapore, going before and after. This is spectacular. And you know what? Not many people took pictures after the conjunction. So this person, Akash Anad, wins for perseverance. And I was just interested in this picture. The difference between different latitudes is going to be how far you can be above the horizon. So, you know, civil twilight turns into nautical twilight at when it's 6 degrees, when the sun is 6 degrees below the horizon. But that means different things at different latitudes. So you can be 23 degrees above when you're pretty close to the equator. I think it was 15 minutes above the horizon for us at 49 degrees. But only 11 at the level of London. So this is basically when the sun is higher in the sky. So in our summer, then it will allow us to see things like this better because the sun gets out of the way and you have a darker sky for the same object. So maybe sometime in the summer there'll be another good conjunction for us. Is that it? Oh, there's also, now this is something that Stephen Quinn is part of the Hertzberg astrophysical, what is HAA? Anybody? Anyway, the observatory here.
Hertzberg Astronomy and Astrophysics Research Center.
Thank you. Jim was the right person to know. Anyway, this was submitted also, and let's see if I click on this and I bring this into here. So this is not a single picture, but what he did was show where all the moons, so the Canada-Francois telescope was important in noticing many of the, I don't know, tens, dozens of moons from Jupiter and Saturn. And so here you can see, so that is the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. And most of the moons don't move very fast. Go away. I want this again. We'll do that big. So there is Jupiter and Saturn. And those are the moons of Jupiter. And then he adds the moons of Saturn. And what's interesting is the ones that are close to Jupiter, you can actually see moving. Okay, these guys here. But most of the rest are just moving along. The red ones along with Saturn and the green ones just moving along with Jupiter, except for the Jovian ones, which are pretty close. There we go.
You can really see that you can get almost a three-dimensional aspect of how Jupiter is closer than Saturn is.
Yeah, that's right. That's really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody have questions or comments? Or
Thank you for putting that together. It was just a beautiful show.
I was so pleased with all the response from you club members. That really felt good to be able to highlight the work of people on this screen.
Thanks for getting my shot in, Randy. I sent it to you like 10 minutes before or something.
I know. I was expecting that.
Thank you.
I didn't read the email. So.
Yeah.
You know,
very good. Well, thanks. Oh, sorry, Michael.
Sorry, one of the things that I observed with NEOWISE and this event is the overhyping in the press made it so that a lot of people didn't actually see it or they didn't know what they were looking for. I mean, the other people other than your group here that I hang out with are a bunch of birders, which I don't qualify to be, but they're smart and well-informed people. And I got a bunch of questions about where it was and why they didn't see it and why it wasn't so bright. So there is a shortfall of sort of relevant information. Same with NEOWISE, standing up on Christmas Hill and watching people get excited about a contrail, thinking that that was in fact the comet. It was just instructional.
Yeah, I think both FDAO and Victoria Center would certainly be out there with some kind of public event or an effort to do one as well to give people a little bit better direction and focus as to what to expect. And, you know, bring some of our gear to bear so they can actually have a chance to see something. We'll get back into it as soon as we can.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was going to say, it seems like all of these, you know, like every full moon now is something enormous. And then when Mars was closer to us, it was going to be this enormous thing, of course, or some people said anyways. And I guess that it gets just blown out of proportion that you're going to see something as big as the moon. And of course,
what surprised me is everybody thought they had to see it on the 21st. Whereas, you know, I was just really digging it for weeks before, watching them get closer.
Yeah, that's right. That's something we can contribute to the general public as far as giving them a little more information. Get out there and actually have a look at it because it's an evolving event in that case.
Well, I'd love to see the planets move, but in this one, because you've got them in it, you can see them with naked eye. It was one of those things that you can actually feel the Earth move around. It was you were part of the solar system for that month.
Yeah, I sure found out how much I missed the public outreach thing when I was up on Mount Ptolemy for 2 nights and had in total about 50 people very carefully come by my scope and have a look. And the feedback was just absolutely fabulous.
David, how many people did you have on Dallas on the 22nd?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember now. There are a lot of people scooting by. Of course, people ask, well, when you have a camera with you, everybody asks you what you're doing, right? But I don't know, probably about 15 people probably passing by. Actually, they were amazingly respectful, not to bother me.
Yeah, absolutely. The people were very, very good with keeping their distance and not touching things and stuff. It was really good. Very, very supportive.
I did.
It's been a good time for EAA.
I did my best to help with a little bit of outreach with the people who live at Ross Place, and actually had a 95-year-old woman out on the terrace seeing the conjunction. That was the 2 nights after the closest approach, I guess. And she was just ecstatic. It was really quite neat. But I had an amazing number of questions from all kinds of people in this place. It's one of the, I guess, small advantages of being where I am during COVID, that I actually have a lot of people that I can talk to about astronomy.
Very good. Well, thank you again, Randy, for pulling all that together and all the contributions we got from the people who are here this evening and others. Thank you again. John, we've seen some of your work, but you've been doing some experimenting on seeing what you can do to erase the fact that you live up above Douglas Street there, and it happens to be a rather lit area.
I have, Chris. So, as most of you know, I live in the heavily polluted downtown of Victoria. And so I thought maybe it would be useful to invest in some of the technology that is supposed to help a little bit by buying some modern light pollution filters. And I've done some tests on a couple of them. I should also remind you that I come from a science background, so rather than get all my information from the web, although I do go there for information, I usually want to check what I see on the web and what I hear from experts. Not that I doubt them, it's just that I like to do my own testing. So I'm going to share the screen and show you the results of using light pollution filters in the middle of downtown Victoria. Okay, I think you should be seeing a screen now with some pictures on it.
Yeah, we have 4 frames.
So you may not be able to read what's on the bottom, so let me just show you. The one on the left is a picture of Orion through a 35mm lens, no filter. It's been cropped, so it's not the full frame of my camera, but it is showing the region of Orion. Just to let you know the conditions that night, it was pretty misty. I could just barely make out the stars of Orion with my eyes, but I had to really strain to do it. The one to the right is the same thing, but using a filter that a lot of people have really praised that comes from Optolong optics. And truth to tell, it does look a bit better. The color's different. What's not totally clear from the picture is whether there's more information that could be pulled out from this one than from the one without the filter. And then I couldn't use that filter on a different lens that I wanted to use, but I had an astronomic filter that actually fits inside the camera that I used for these two with a 24mm lens. So the scale was a little bit different, but anyway. And moreover, with this lens, I actually took a series of photos. These are just single shots on the left. This is a series of photos in each case without a filter and with a filter. And this filter appears to darken things, the background, a little bit more than the Optolong one does. Again, it's not crystal clear looking at these whether there's more information in this picture than this one, but it does look better at first glance. So I wanted to see what that might mean. And so I took some pictures with my 8-inch Edge SCT. And so let me just show you what I got with this. And in this case, I've taken a series of exposures in both cases, no filter on the left with the filter on the right. And then I've done the best job I could in each case to bring out as much detail as I could. Now, bear in mind again, this is a night when you could barely see Orion by the eye. So I'm fairly impressed that I could get anything. But the interesting thing, at least to me, is that I'm getting a little bit more information with no filter than with the astronomic filter, which was the best one that I showed. It seemed to work better than the other filter, but I'm still not getting even quite as good a result with the filter as without. And that's kind of counter to everything that you will read on the web about filters. So I just thought you might be interested in that. And
is that the body that has the red filter or the red filter removed or whatever?
Yes, thanks for the question. This is the camera that has the filter, the normal filter removed, and behind the, usually in any DSLR, there's a filter to take out the infrared, but it also tends to take out the red that shows up in nebula. This camera has been modified so that red light comes through. And the light pollution filter would not, should not affect that from the bandpass information that I got for it. So it should work all right.
John, I have a question for you.
I'm just going to share.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, David, go ahead.
In the photograph, how are you balancing the base color of the sky? Are you using PixInsight to do that?
No, I didn't. I was really going by eye more than anything, which is what I usually do. I didn't try PixInsight on these images. I probably should and probably will do that in the future. Mm-hmm. But I just did my very best to see what I could get out.
Actually, it's kind of consistent with what I've done in the past too. Mm-hmm. I used to watch Dan photograph without an LPR, and I've always used light pollution filters. Like I've always used like one of the IDAS series, and I found it really strange that Dan didn't do that. But then I just started doing it just to get more light onto the sensor, and I kind of found what you found. Like it's marginal. It does increase contrast, but you're quite right. Does it really give you more detail? That's hard to say.
I was surprised that I was expecting that it would at least help a bit, but you're losing about equivalent to 1 stop in light gathering, roughly, with each of those 2 filters that I used. So the extra light is helping the no filter results.
Yeah, I think the other...
I had a little bit of a prejudice, David, from my work at CERN, where we were not doing this, but we were doing things which we could affect the result by doing, by throwing out certain parts of the data to get more contrast or more, something better. In almost all cases, we found that keeping all of the data gave us better results.
Yeah, I think the thing with filters is they are kind of notched filters. So basically, you're knocking out good stuff too when you knock out the bad stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, the improvement in images with light pollution filters mantra goes back to the days when we had an awful lot of high pressure sodium lighting, which had a fairly narrow notch that you could take out. Now all the filters are designed to take out the bands that are being used with the modern LED lighting or the metal halide lighting, and those they cover broader parts of the spectrum, and each lighting manufacturer has a slightly different mix of what they're going to put into the white light that they put out. So I think what's happened is with LED lighting that the effectiveness of the filters is probably not as good as it was back in the days when it was just an HPS filter.
Now that said, John's using a CLS from Astronomics, and it's a kind of an older filter. The one that I'm using actually is from HUTech. They actually have one that is meant to address some of the LED lighting, but not all of it, obviously, right? I mean, I've actually been very pleased with the one that I've got right now. It's a much more modern filter. It sort of encompasses notches for the LED, but of course you're losing data as well.
Yeah, I guess I was pointing out that contrary to what we hoped, the change over to LED lighting has not necessarily improved our ability to take pictures.
Absolutely not.
No.
David,
John, have you tried that filter comparison with more of a hydrogen alpha, sort of like a real red emission nebula? Or because the Orion is a very white, there's lots of variety of colors in it. So, the typical 2 bandpass style, like the CLS, would probably take a lot of information away from the Orion as opposed to the Horsehead or something.
That's quite possible. I mean, this is not, I wouldn't regard this as a definitive test for every possibility.
Yeah.
I
live in central Saanich, about a kilometer from Eurosa greenhouses, and they use probably a terawatt of high pressure sodium lights in there. And it's without a filter, I'm doomed. The sky just washes out in minutes.
Yeah,
Brock, which filter are you using?
I actually have a clip-in CLS CCD, just like John had there.
Oh, using CLS as well, eh? Okay.
Yeah, it's not astronomic, but it's what's the make? I can't remember, but it's a clip-in, and it works really well. So for that high pressure sodium that they have.
Take that sodium line out.
To come back to David and David Lee's and Dave Robinson's comments, that Optilong filter is a very modern one that does all the stuff that is supposed to help as much as possible with the modern lighting. And I don't have the impression it worked as well as
I think we still have an issue because when we got rid of a lot of the HPS lighting, a lot of people started replacing their old HPS with metal halide. And so we're seeing non-street lights and other kinds of commercial lighting that are using metal halide, which has a much broader frequency range than what the old HBS did. So again, we probably, because they're not using LED technology, it's probably made sky glow a little worse bandwidth wise.
I put the spectrum of an LED, a white LED, against the plots on the CLS CCD just as a comparison, and it's still cutting out significant amounts of the LED. Like the LED's got the blue pump and then the phosphor, and it fits in actually pretty well with the blockage on that filter in theory, but I haven't done an exhaustive comparison like John did.
Brock, have a look at the response curve of the HUTEC NGS. That's what I'm actually using.
Okay.
And it's meant to address the LED.
Does it still have 2 band passes, or like the CLS?
Yeah, there's a band for the regular high pressure sodium, and then there's one for LED.
Cool.
I actually have both, so maybe
Okay.
I'll do a test between CLS and NGS.
Yeah, they're expensive to try.
They are.
The old sodium lamps were mostly gas discharge, so they tended to have a really narrow frequency band, whether it was the high pressure or low pressure. Unfortunately, with the new LED lamps and also with the metal halides, which are essentially incandescent, you've gone back to that broad spectrum, broad, almost continuous spectrum. So it makes things quite a bit more difficult. But I have to say thank you, John. I was actually had that astronomic CLS filter on my wish list, so now it's going to go down a little bit on the priority.
You can buy me a beer sometime, Jim.
I think I owe you that for a lot of other stuff.
Some money.
Well, thanks very much for sharing that, John. And if anybody wants to follow up on this in the future with other things, that's quite interesting to see what we can discover.
Join one of the SIGs.
There we are. Yeah. We'll have a filter group, shall we? Great. Reg, did you want to say anything this evening?
Actually, just a quick comment on that about the SIGs. I just that's something that we might add to that under I don't know whether it would be David's electronically assisted or some other branch, but spectroscopy, whether we're looking at lamps and whatnot for our own practical use, or even just doing work with the stars. I remember.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking of adding sort of spectral kind of filters into the mix in EA as well.
Right. Well, I do remember one that a picture that John posted some years back, a defocused view of Orion, I think it was, and you could quite clearly see the different colors in throughout the different stars through the constellation. So that was quite interesting.
Okay, Reg.
Okay, well, first of all, it's almost like we need a filter special interest group. It seems like there's quite a group of people who've got a lot of interest in that. And I just want to, before I forget, thank David for being kind of the leader to get all of these SIGs going. I think it'll be interesting to see how well they work, but you put a lot of thought into that, David, so thank you for doing that. And also again to Randy for your wonderful presentation on the conjunctions. I really enjoyed it. You pulled in some remarkable images. I really enjoyed your data analysis, and it was really good. So all I'm going to do is show you what is available on the web for right now for Victoria. This is the Astro Cafe for Monday, and most of this stuff, if you need a link to the FDAO virtual star party, it is right here. And if it doesn't work here, try going to the center of the universe. They might have a more reliable thing. I published something that didn't quite work one time, and I'm still mortified about it. The Victoria Center Special Interest Groups, the link to get there is here. And then a new refractor arrives at Victoria Center Observatory. Now this is just in, it occurred today. And I was up there with Mike Krempotic from Port Alberni. And Mike drove down and brought his telescope and delivered it outside the VCO. And this is the refractor that I think I might have mentioned last week. And here's a picture of it swaddled with foam around it. He's got a wonderful case for it. I was absolutely astonished about how big this thing is. It's a lot fatter than I had envisioned. And this collar that holds the scope is much, much more robust than I thought as well. So we might not require rings to hold this thing, attach this to the mount when we get it on up onto the mount. So I'm experimenting with that right now. But the scope looks in beautiful condition, and it's a really exciting opportunity. And while we were up there, Mike is very knowledgeable about obsession telescopes. And we spent a couple hours checking out our 20-inch obsession, and he did quite a few modifications to the way it was set up. And he had a lot of really good ideas when we put our setting circles on and things like that. So we've got a lot of gear up on the hill now that is really in really good condition. It's going to take a little bit more effort to really make it all operational and hum. So we've got a bit of work, and this is going to require probably a bit of relaxation of the COVID standards so we can have a couple of good work parties up there. But as we get our injections and the vaccine works its magic, once we can all assemble up there again, we're going to have a terrific time. So I'm really excited about that. So I really appreciate the work, the knowledge and generosity of Mike for one offering us a scope at a reasonable price, and for all of his knowledge regarding the obsession. I really wish he lived closer, and I look forward to a time when we can all get together again. So that's good.
Reg?
Yeah?
What sort of things did he modify on the obsession?
Well, the way that we had connected the top was wrong, and some of them were not flush into the thing. So he changed that a little bit, and he just loosened the poles a little bit and wiggled them here and there to make sure everything was flush. A bunch of tiddly stuff that, you know, first time putting it up, it was saying, well, that's good enough. But he is taken apart his, he's got a 20-inch and a 15-inch obsession. So he's had a lot of experience reassembling it, and some ideas about how to stabilize our finder for it, and how to better lead the wires from our Argo Navis setting circles when we put them in there, and ways we should watch out what we do so we don't break things. It was really a great workshop, and I really was very thankful for all of the information he gave me. Now, my great fear is that I'm going to forget a lot of it and screw up anyway, but we'll see how that goes. But I think that with the fact that we have the OGS scope, we have this new refractor, and then some enhancements to the Dobsonian 20-inch, I think we're going to have a pretty interesting place to enjoy the night skies up at the Victoria Center Observatory. And I would just like also to welcome Gay and Mamie to the group. I don't think I've seen you here before, but the Victoria Center Observatory, if you don't know about it, is a wonderful resource. But in order to go up and visit it, you have to be members of the active observers list on that list. And the best person to talk to about that is our membership lead, Chris Pearce, who's also our host tonight. So just keep that in mind. we've got a wonderful opportunity to use this. The final thing I wanted to mention here is the BC Yukon Science Virtual Science Fair is looking for judges, and there's a long spiel about it. And if you are interested, they having or to register, the deadline is mid-February, and you just click here to register. And they've got a little training session for you if you don't want to do. But some people who might have been more involved in the science fair, like Randy, might want to say a few words about it. But I'll just before I stop the share, I want to just mention that the RASC weekly setup here, most people are getting an email about this, and there's some pretty interesting talks on. There's a talk on dark matter on Tuesday, and you can register for that. And let's see what else here. Calgary's got an interesting a thing on the lives, deaths, and explosions of massive stars, and there's a link for that. And you can go to the star party at the David Dunlap Observatory. It's a telescope. I think it's about 1 inch in diameter, larger than the Plaskett. And then after you're finished there, you can immediately go to the Plaskett Star Party that has been hosted by Lauri's group, the Friends of the DAO. So a lot of interesting stuff.
I'll just jump in here, and you may notice that Toronto charges for their access.
Wow, I'm not surprised. At any rate, with that, I'll stop the share and thank Chris for hosting, and I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Reg. Any final comments or questions for this evening?
I have a question for Reg. Do you know if Mike might be watching tonight? If so, we should certainly thank him for the help that he gave you, and especially for that telescope.
Well, you know what? He does not watch live, but he watches the taping of this. So I think we should all give a reaction and thumbs up if we can here.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
So thanks, Mike. And I do hope that he watches so and hangs into the very end. But I'll leave it there.
Well, thank you everyone for being here this evening. We'll, of course, be having another Astro Cafe next week. Just one more reminder that National is hoping to launch a new membership system. It was perhaps to be as early as today, but I don't see any information about that. So I guess it's forthcoming, but hopefully things will improve with our member services and the ability to access our account and make changes, which has not been great with the old system. And if you are looking for a last minute 2021 calendar, we still have a few. But otherwise,
I've got a little plug here. The new photographers gallery in Sydney has got an exhibit of photos from Juno, and you can also buy these nice little cards while you're there. So, and it's going on there. It's on Beacon Avenue in Sydney, and it's on until February 20th. I think they're not open on Sundays and Thursdays or something like that, but otherwise they're open during the day. So it's worth a look. And you know, if you want to get away from Victoria, come on up to Sydney. You know, it's worth it anyway. We have a fabulous bakery up here and nice restaurants and things too.
Yeah. And on that note, Chris, if you can get lots of copies of your book, I'm sure we'll be able to find homes for them, because I would sure love it in paper copy as well. I meant to say that earlier.
Yes, not even I have a copy of it yet, but I'm working on it. The distribution in Canada is going to be a little different because it's a government publication in the States, but I'm actually working on making some arrangements for that so that they will be easily available for people. And you know, I'll be keeping everyone informed about that.
Great, thank you. And somebody's waving to us. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, everybody. That was a blast.
Anyways, thanks for being here tonight, and Star Party on Saturday and here next Monday. Thanks.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Can someone stay on the line for, I got some questions about observing Mercury. So after you stop recording, Chris.